and welcome to my channel. I hope you enjoy this video. Well, hello everyone, and I'm so pleased to be joining you. And you know what? I couldn't sleep last night. Because someone sent me a map, a very weird map, and there's just something wrong with it. Something so wrong with it. So I just had to. I still don't know what's wrong with it, but I've learnt a lot. And oh boy, something's weird. So very much appreciated to the gent who sent me this map. It's of the English visiting the West Indies and conquering a few islands for the first time in the 1500s in the Elizabethan period. But more on that later, because we're going to talk about Columbus and the Templars. And this is actually a continuation of that other video in which I said the Tarascan Empire in America. That's the Tarascan Empire. That is the Aztec Empire, is basically this was a Templar Empire in America. How do I know that? Well, based on what I'm reading right now, I can guarantee that. This is unbelievable. But let's start from the beginning, shall we? The Templars. What were the Templars? Who were the Templars? This is such a weird thing. And I've been reading about the Templars, and the Templars were not an ordinary organization. Not at all. The Columbus voyages. Let's just read a bit about the Templars. So this is someone joining the Templars, and he says in 1135, he says, "Dear mother and father, I am writing to assure you that I am quite well." That's from ancientpages.com. I'm sure they don't mind. "I'm writing to assure you that I'm quite well. I apologise for making you worry and for creating more distance between us. I know that it was difficult for both of you when I left home to live on the Lord's manor. However, it was best for my future that I trained to become a knight. My refined skills as a warrior have allowed me to join the noble order of the Knights Templar," written in June of 1135. And that is just so interesting. And we read about the Templars, and you have to know this. You have to know this is so crazy. The Templars were a favoured charity throughout Christendom and grew rapidly in membership and power. They were prominent in Christian finance. Templar Knights, in their distinctive white mantles with a red cross, were among the most skilled fighting units of the Crusades. Non-combatant members of the order, who formed as much as 90% of the order's members, managed a large economic infrastructure throughout Christendom, developing innovative financial techniques that were an early form of banking, building its own network of nearly 1,000 commanderies and fortifications across Europe and the Holy Land, and arguably forming the world's first multinational corporation. Did you say that? Multinational corporation. This is just absolutely unbelievable. But I'm thinking multi-empire corporation. Because, and then we get to this map. This map is a weird map. Basically, let's read exactly what's going on. And the point of this video is to say that there was a multinational Templar Empire. It was a worldwide empire. Before Columbus, before the Spanish and Portuguese monarchies conquered the New World, there were already private corporations in the New World. I mean, this is unbelievable. And so this map is from the 1580s. It's an English map. It's friend-centered. And here's the thing. Here's the English ships here. And there's a Spanish ship. There's a Spanish flag on the back. But it's got these Templar flags, and it seems to be rounding the Cape in the 1580s. The English, I don't think, would have been doing that unless we're talking about something like Walter Raleigh or something like that. Or they wouldn't have been rounding the Cape. What for? And in it looks like a multi-decked galleon in one of those ships. I don't know. It's not a warship. It's a kind of galleon, a commerce ship, and commerce only exists where you're guaranteed to make money. It's not on exploration. It's on commerce trip. It's rounding the Cape. This is just unbelievable. And so here's what I wanted to show you. This is what I wanted to show you. So let's just look at this map here. And here's the thing. We can start to see the Templar Empire in action. Now, what is now Colombia? They called it West India. Now West India is just there. But this is the funny thing. We see the same colour of England and Italy. It's a political map. They're the same colour. And that, America. So America, Templar origins. The West India part, this part here, the Spain. So these are all the same colour. Are they all the same empire? What is the name of this empire? And look over here. That's the Templar section. That's in yellow. I think that one there is in red. What's going on? Well, what's going on is we're looking at a Templar Empire, and I can start to prove this. Let's look at a better map. There we go. That's what I'm looking for. So here we see some ships crossing over from England. This is the voyage homeward. As you see, it's in Elizabethan English. It's a beautiful old map, and look how big the Low Countries are. The Dutch section of the world is just absolutely tiny, absolutely huge. What the hell is going on there? France is tiny. This is incredible, and we're going to look some more. There's Norumbega, I'm not sure what that is, part of America. Virginia, there we go, Virginia, the colony of Virginia, so this is the English part. The English are very proud, they've just conquered parts of North America, and this map is celebrating the fact that they've entered Central America. They're taking over some of those islands, just a couple of those islands, and it says so here. So this is what it says. So the map is all about the famous West Indian voyage made by the English fleet of 23 ships and barks, whom were gotten the towns of Santiago, St. Domingo, Cartagena, and St. Augustines. Cartagena, that's Colombia, you see, and St. Augustines. The same being begun from Plymouth in the month of September 1585 and ended at Portsmouth in July 1586. The whole course of the said voyage being plainly described by the pricked line. I don't know what pricked line is. Newly come forth by Baptista. Would that be Baptista B or something like that? So this was a voyage to West Indies. Then they found or took these towns from the Spanish, their privateers, which were the official ruffians of the English, the official pirates. They took these towns from the Spanish. But here's the problem, and I'm sure you will agree that there is a problem going on here. We have the same colour here, and all have the same flag. The Spanish use the Templar flag. The English use the Templar flag. The Genoese use the Templar flag. And they call it the Cross of St. George, but it's not the Cross of St. George. It's the cross of someone who is a martyr, and it originates because I saw this in an Irish chronicle. If you recall, this was in an Irish chronicle showing the Irish travelling to America, and they have the same cross, the same red cross on a white background. And this is the flag, the cross of a martyr. This, if you wore this in the Middle Ages, it meant you were a Templar, but it also meant you were ready to die immediately for your cause. And they prayed every morning because they expected they had to be ready every day to die. What they would do if they were a Templar warrior, they had to essentially get up before dawn, pray, check their armour, and be ready for whatever they would have to do that day. And they were shock troops. So the Muslims called them the fiercest of the Frank warriors because they would just attack just like crazy, like berserkers, basically. And they formed this multinational financial empire, which is very interesting. So I'm wondering what's going on. And I was reading about the origin of the English flag. Do you know where it comes from? This is very interesting. It looks like Richard the Lionheart was a secret Templar. According to Wikipedia, of all places, it quotes an apocryphal legend which says that this became the personal flag, the Cross of St. George, of Richard the Lionheart. Just absolutely unbelievable. And there's another thing I wanted to show you on this map. So there's the map, but as we go down towards the Cape, down there is a ship. Okay, there's a ship. And this is the ship, right? And this fellow said, well, is that a Templar ship? That's a Spanish ship. But the flags, it means they're taking the cross. They would wear this when they went on crusade because they expected to die. So they also put it on their ships because they expected not to come back. They thought, look, we're going around the world on a wooden ship. We might not come back. We're taking the cross, you know. So it was the zealous people who were... These people were already very zealous to begin with. Of course, they were going to burn all the Mayan stuff, you know. They're just crazy people. But they were copying this thing. And I'm thinking they're copying the Templar Empire's seal. These are all secret Templars. Richard the Lionheart must have been a secret Templar. He brought the flag back to England. The Genoese bankers in Italy had the same flag. It must be because the Templars were running the banks. It became their banker flag. The Spanish had the same thing because there were lots of Templars hiding out. Look, if you flee from France, where are you going to go? You're going to go here here, all marked in yellow, all got the same flag. What the heck is going on? They're gonna flee in all these directions. You see what's happening here? This is so interesting. And they would have fled to the New World as well. I'm sure the Templars would have fled to their country in the New World, possibly the Tarascan Empire. They would have rounded the Cape. This ship's rounding the Cape. Do you see how complicated this is? And the Templars themselves, this is an empire within an empire. The empire, which was medieval Europe, but it wasn't really an empire at all. But they had this power. They had this amazing power because they had this thing, a papal quote, it's called a papal bull. I'm not sure why it's called a bull. I guess that's a survival of some ancient. What does bull actually mean? I'm just going to check this very quickly. Oh, it's a seal. It's that. Okay, that's interesting. But what I wanted to show you was this. According to the Omnidatum Optimum, the Templars were allowed to. According to this, they were promised all spoils from Muslim conquest of the order and made the order exempt from tithes and taxes. For all things, and that's everywhere, throughout Europe. Templars did not pay any taxes, but they collected money on their thousands of properties everywhere. As for the things you will receive from the spoils, you can confidently put them to your own use, and we prohibit that you be coerced against your will to give anyone a portion of these. And in addition to this Omnium Datum Optimum, there was another bull, and it said they were allowed to travel throughout Europe just freely. They're allowed to freely travel throughout Europe. So here it is. The Omnidatum Optimum exempted the order from obedience to local laws. So these people had diplomatic immunity, basically. Do you see what's happening here? This ruling meant the Templars could freely pass through all borders, were not required to pay any taxes, and were exempt from all authority except that of the Pope. You see, and that's why I took a different pope, a pope in Avignon, to actually put an end to them. With its clear mission and ample resources, the order grew rapidly. Templars were often the advanced shock troops in key battles of the Crusades, as the heavily armoured knights on their war horses would set out to charge the enemy ahead of the main army bodies in an attempt to break opposition lines. And one of their most famous victories was in 1177 during the Battle of Montségur, where some 500 Templar knights helped several thousand infantry to defeat Saladin's army of more than 26,000 soldiers. But here's the thing, people. I think this history is wrong. That's right, people. This history is wrong. It can't be correct because of what happened during the First Crusade when the Templars did not quite yet exist. And the Templars, they're very interesting. They had their headquarters. You know what the headquarters was? Temple Mount. So they thought this was built in the 700s as a mosque, or might have been a Byzantine church or something. But you see how it's round? So they built all their round churches because of the roundness of this structure. You know, this is amazing. And they thought this was the Temple of Solomon. So they lived here. And this was their headquarters for about 100 or so years until they lost Jerusalem. And according to the article on the Templars, they had their own fleet. That's right. I look up fleet and they had their own. Look, here we go. Based on a mix of donations and business dealing, the Templars established financial networks across the whole of Christendom. They acquired tracts of land, both in Europe and the Middle East. They brought and managed farms and vineyards. They built massive stone cathedrals and castles. They were involved in manufacturing, import and export. They had their own fleet of ships, and at one point they even owned the entire island of Cyprus. The Order of the Knights Templar arguably qualifies as the world's first multinational corporation. And they invented banking. So what they did, before someone went to the Holy Land, just in case they died, they would deposit all their stuff at the Templar Bank for safekeeping. And of course, when they died, what happens to the money? Who knows? And here's where it starts to get really interesting, because I think that's how the Templars found out about the New World. Because they've suddenly got all the treasure of Europe in their vaults. And they're going to be investigating what's in our vaults. Let's have a look. Hey, let's go downstairs and have a look. Down the echoey stairs, down to the dungeon. Down to the damn dungeon in the castle. And they're going to have a look. And they're gonna say, well, hang on a sec. Well, they're gonna say, look, we found maps in here. We found old treasures in here. Maps of the New World. Look at all this. Look at all these parchments and books and other treasures we've got. And they would have travelled to the New World. Why would they have travelled to the New World? Well, it's quite obvious. they were fearless. They were ready to die. So travelling to another country was nothing for them. So they were just hopped on the ship and they said, look, we want you to do a secret mission, go to the New World. And they set up, I believe they set up their empire in the Americas. And by the way, that's the Templar flag. Funnily enough, it does look like the German flag. I don't know why. That's a bit weird. I'm thinking the Germans might have been a bit of a copy. And they damn well copied that, didn't they? And, I just find the Templars absolutely fascinating. And now we get to Columbus. Oh, Mr. Sneaky himself. Because here's the problem. Do you see all these voyages? These are his 4 voyages. And what happened was, he's obviously not trying to round the Cape, so he doesn't quite know what America looks like. He's just trying to go east as much as he can, east to get to the rich countries of Asia. So he's looking for the money. He's looking to set up trade very quickly so he can enrich himself, right? He doesn't want to explore. He wants to trade. He wants to find a trading post and then monopolize it. Or does he? Because that's the problem. It seems he doesn't. It seems he knew about the America and he wasn't trying to get to Asia at all. But he was somehow trying to get to I think he was trying to get to the Templar Empire. Was Columbus a lackey? Was he working secretly for the Templar state, which I think was in the Americas, the Tarascan Empire? And by the way, just in case you don't think you think this is all wrong, just bear in mind what I showed you before. These are the Tarascan people wearing the tartans, and we've got other ones wearing the Highland caps and so forth, like these chaps here. So that's all in the other video. But here's the thing, guys. Columbus could not have been looking for Asia, because, and this is the thing. This is the funny clue. This is the thing that kept me awake, and it's kept me awake for a long time and not able to sleep. I think that Columbus was trying to find America and trying to conquer the Templar Empire there, because he said he made his agreement with Isabella and so forth. Whatever land I find is mine. But you can't do that with Asia, since Asia was run by the Great Khan, by the Mongol Empire, by the Great Tatar Empire. So you see, he wasn't going to Asia, he was going to America. And he was in contact with the Genoese bankers. That's right, it says in the official history he was in contact with the Genoa, which used the Templar flag. So he learned from them the secret of America. He made a secret deal to pay off his debts, to go to re-establish a trade link for Genoa, I believe, with the Templar Empire in America. Isn't that as clear as day? I think that is what's happening. Why did he have to sneak off to Genoa just after getting Isabella's blessing? You see what's happening here? This is absolutely unbelievable. So we've uncovered the Templar Empire. We've uncovered Columbus's secret plot. And here's another thing, guys. It just gets deeper and deeper and deeper as we unravel what's going on. This is like an episode of Columbo. I love this. And this is what's happening, guys. Can I tell you something? Didn't King Solomon have mines? Didn't he go to the New World? Well, if they were digging around here, what the heck did they find? Here, this was their headquarters. What did they find? And did they think, okay, hang on a sec. Solomon may have gone to America to collect gold. Well, maybe they thought this is where this golden dome comes from. Well, hey, we are the new Solomon Empire. And you look at the Templars, they are the pauperuses, comiliantes, that's soldiers of Christ, of the temple, of the Solomon, of Jerusalem. Now, what does that tell you? That's their slogan, but what does that tell you? And there it is there. That's that's what they thought was the Temple of Solomon. Well, it tells us they're trying to rebuild Solomon's empire, and their base is basically Jerusalem. That's their base. That's what they're trying to do. So they want to have a worldwide empire, a big fleet, lots of money. So they're going to get gold from the New World. And I think the Spanish Templars knew this. And this was a secret. This was a company secret. And that's why this company's secret, before the age of the printing press, did not get into the history books, so our history is wrong. And if you don't believe the history is wrong after this, before this video, you will surely believe it after this video. Guys, it has been an absolute pleasure and making this video, and I hope you've really enjoyed that. I believe that is what happened, and that explains to me what the heck Columbus was trying to do in the New World. Thank you very much. Bye-bye. And guys, if you thought that was everything, I'm just warming up. This is, if you want to see how big the Templar Empire was, you just look up St. George's Cross. And this is absolutely unbelievable, because what's happening here is, it says here, associated with the Crusades, the red on white cross has origin in the 10th century. Incorrect, it's in older Irish chronicles, talking about St. Brendan and all, so forth, going to America. But the Templar Empire is older than they say it is. The history doesn't record it, right? Because there were no books. So what's happening is, this is the funny thing. So let me just read this to you, and the eyes are going to fly out of your head. St. George became widely venerated as a warrior saint during the Third Crusade. There was a legend that he miraculously assisted Godfrey of Boulogne, also that Richard the Lionheart had placed himself under its protection. So he became a Templar, secret Templar. History does not record this, you see what I mean? According to legend, the Crusaders received miraculous help at the Siege of Antioch. This is around the time of the First Crusade, I guess. 28 June. 1098. Now, Antioch was separating the Holy Land from the Byzantine Empire. They marched through the Byzantine Empire in order to get there. And here we go. The Crusaders received miraculous help from a great army on white horses, clothed in white and bearing white banners, led by St. George, St. Demetrius, St. Mercurius. However, there was no association of the Red Cross with St. George before the end of the Crusades. Right. To me, this is a Templar army in the Holy Land before they called themselves, possibly just a few years before they called themselves the Templars. So they might have been going by another name, right? And, you know, this is absolutely fascinating. So you want to look up the origins of the cross. The cross got to England because it was brought there from the Holy Land by Richard the Lionheart. In other words, it's a Templar cross. And they don't know how. The idea can be traced to the Victorian era. Perrin, 1922, refers to it as a common belief, and it is still popularly repeated today, even though it cannot be substantiated as historical. Something like this, God knows if it's historical or not. But here's the thing. He was a patron saint from Genoa, so it was a Genoese flag. Forget St. George. It's obvious what's really going on. Richard the Lionheart became a Templar. You see, he was a secret Templar. He brought this back to England. Why else would he be the Lionheart if he became a Templar, a shock knight? You see what I mean? That's why he was such a fierce knight. He was a secret Templar. This is obvious. You know, this is just absolutely unbelievable. The flag of Barcelona. We saw something similar on the Spanish ship. But you want to see all the extent of the Templar Empire? You just look into this, and you see that patron saint of England, Georgia, national flag of Georgia. Used extensively across northern Italy, hence that's banking, Bologna, Padua, Reggio Emilia, Mantua, Vercelli, Alessandria, all city-states allegedly or secretly part of the Templar Empire. You see what I mean? Commune of Milan, you know. Commune of Milan in 1048. What the hell's going on? An unknown revolution? That's weird. I never heard of that. That's quite interesting. The Swabian League. Used in Swabian League in the pre-Reformation Holy Roman Empire. That might be how it got into the German cross, the German flag. So it was used extensively across Europe. These were, I believe, loose Templar-run cities. And this is why the French king, you know, he got so on his high horse and he said, we have to get rid of these guys, you know. These guys are insulting me every day because they don't have to answer to me. I ask them, you know, to pay me tax, and they just laugh at me, you know. We have to get rid of these guys. So he got rid of them, didn't he? So there you go. Here's a St. George and the Dragon, etc. So, you know, it's based off a dragon-slaying cult, a snake-slaying cult. Oh, Ireland, Hey, St. Patrick killed the snakes. You see what I mean? St. Patrick must have, maybe that was the original Templars in Ireland, or the prototypes of the Templars in Ireland, because they had a similar cross. I believe this is traced to Ireland. Guys, I've blabbed on enough, but you get the idea. Thank you so much. Now, do you know what? I've written a couple books. One of them is probably one of the best ancient astronauts books ever written. It's called Confessions of the Gods. Check it out, Kindle or paperback on Amazon. And also a pyramids book. The pyramids book is basically, well, it's 137 photos of sites you can visit in Europe, which are prototypes of pyramids. That's an amazing book. It's much deeper reading than the other book, Confessions, but check them out on Kindle and paperback. Guys, I hope you've enjoyed this. And also hit me up on Patreon. Cheers. Bye-bye.